Good morning, everyone. It's October 20th, 2021, and a very, very cold morning in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. I'm in the Lawrenceburg Cemetery facing east right now. I'm just going to share a few thoughts. Some of you all will agree with the series of videos that I'm doing, and some of you won't. That's okay. It's America for now, where we can still at least have a difference of opinion. But I'm just going to talk about real men and the lack of real men today, in my view. It's Lawrenceburg Cemetery here. I'm 52 years old. As far as I know, I'm not dying anytime soon, but life is very short. And I can probably name at least 300 people in here that I know by name or remembered, or I'm looking around and there's 2 or 3 that I see right here that I didn't even know where they were buried. And I'm cold, so I'm trying not to shake. Whatever happened to real men? I think there's a manhood crisis in the United States right now. Let me tell you a bit of a positive story about a real man. This is my grandfather. It's Jamie Elam's father, Bob Elam, Volney Virgil, and his wife Josephine Monroe. Just a really good couple. I'm gonna turn around here so I can prop this up so I don't shake it to death. Bob grew up in Morgan County, Kentucky, one of a whole bunch of brothers and sisters. And I'm not sure exactly what the number of brothers and sisters are, but there's Roy, Robert, Junior, Blaine, Helen, and there's others. I forgot their names. And I knew about half of them. But he grew up Morgan County during the Depression on a big farm there. Didn't have a lot of money, worked like crazy, and he was tougher than woodpecker lips. Very tough. He didn't have to prove his manhood to anyone. He didn't have to walk around looking for a fight. But I guarantee if one started, he could have finished it. He went to World War II. He was in a combat infantry unit. He was an anti-tank unit. He had a 37 millimeter anti-tank gun, which was nothing. He said it would just bounce off the tanks. And I guess it goes back to the adage of, you can kill a bull with a 22 pistol, but you got to hit it just right and hope it doesn't kill you in the process. He landed at Normandy a few days after D-Day. I'm not sure if D plus something. And I said, were you glad that it all cleared out by the time you got there? And he said it was like we hadn't even been there yet. They were still getting strafed, still getting shelled, dead bodies everywhere. He was at the St. Lo campaign. Just look it up. Not fun. And he told me he didn't take his 45 off his side for 40 some days. When the war ended, he wanted to bring it back, but he didn't want to. They told everybody not to bring their weapons home. You can bring souvenirs, helmets, and such, but don't bring weapons home, or it may delay your getting to come home. So he certainly didn't want to do that. He fell off a half track during a battle and messed up his shoulder. One time they were in France. He said they were so thirsty they didn't have any water, and they looked over. I don't know if this was in June or July, but they looked over and there was cows, and the cows were only water they saw was little muddy pock marks where the cows were standing in. And he said, I gotta have a drink. Went over and laid down and got one little drink out of that muck and poo and everything else, and instantly felt better. And the captain came by in a Jeep. I said, what do y'all need? He said, sir, we need water. The captain got so mad that they'd been out there without water. He said, stay here, I'll be back. And came back with a jerry can full of water for him. One time he said that he had a 90-day wonder, they called them. These little lieutenants that had the ranks on their arms, but didn't know anything. Got on a private because he asked for more food in a mess hall. And Sergeant Elam, threatened the lieutenant right there in the line. Don't mess that boy. There it is. So I said sergeant, he's actually private first class. He stood up to a guy who outranked him because it was the right thing to do. Later on, they were in some heavy fighting, and he about tore his thumb off. They closed the breech on the back of that anti-tank gun, about tore his thumb off. And he missed the Battle of the Bulge, and a bunch of his unit got shot up real bad, and he was really worried about him. He had his friend, the man he really respected, was Sergeant Huff from Hazard. He said Huff was never scared. He said never acted scared, but one time I saw his lip quivering, and I knew he was a little bit scared. And one night, Bob had had watched that night, and I guess Huff was a good kind of leader, and said, "You're wore out, obviously. I'll take your place." And that night when he took his place, artillery shells came in and killed Sergeant Huff. So that would have killed Bob, and he always felt bad about that. He told me about that. It was 50, 60 years later. He got emotional talking about it. He really missed that guy and felt bad that he had taken his place and died. So anyway, fast forward, survives the war, comes back, starts building houses, builds houses all the time, and he had a financial line that I thought was really neat. He would say he was going to paint a house and thought he'd make $200, or going to build something, thought he'd make $300. He'd say, well, things happen, whatever. Thought we were going to make $300, but we only made $200, and I was glad to get it. Just kind of lived frugally, and no debt, had a good life. But he didn't like right's right and wrong's wrong, and he would not have gone along with what's going on today very well. Because back in the day, he was coming through town here somewhere, and a cop pulled him over and said he ran a red light, and he didn't. And if Bob would have ran a red light, he would have said, well, I ran the red light, and I'll pay it. I hate that, but I ran the red light. But he said, I didn't run the red light. Yeah, you did. No, you didn't. Yeah. No, you didn't run it. You ran it. Back and forth, you know. And he said, no, I did not run it. So they got a police supervisor type thing, and finally went down to the police station. And well, Bob, just admit that you ran it. I did not run it. And it went back and forth. And, well, let's just say you did this. We'll let you go, but no, I didn't run the thing. And he actually said, I'm a combat veteran. Round up some jurors. We'll have a trial. He was mad because he'd already missed part of a day of work over it. And they let him go. So this is a real man right here. And I'm surrounded by people these days that know that a lot of things wrong is going on, but they don't want to say anything. And I'm telling you right now, if I had $1 for every coward that came up to me and said, I know what's going on is wrong, but I can't say anything because I might lose my spot on the fire department. I might lose my spot with teaching. I might, whatever. Well, they're total cowards. Most of the world are cowards. Bob Elam was not. Right here. Bob Elam, Private First Class, U.S. Army, Bronze Star. He got a Bronze Star because the Germans were shooting stretcher bearers in Hurtgen Forest, and he volunteered knowing they were going to shoot stretcher bearers. He volunteered anyway and did it. And when you're carrying somebody on a stretcher, you can't rightly shoot back, can you? This is kind of a hero thing to me. So I'm asking people to man up these days. If they're asking people at your work to roll up their sleeve or lose their job, that's wrong. You need to say something. You owe it to people like Bob, who fought for his country, and they're all around here. There's State Trooper McCown's right over here, line of duty death, 1975, I think. You owe it to those people to do what you can do to stop tyranny. He fought the Nazis, the National Socialist Party. What are you going to do for freedom? And when people are standing over your grave one day, what are they going to say about you? Are they going to say, he really got along, he was really compliant, he obeyed everything that came by without questioning authority, he was a follower? Or they say, no, he was a respectful leader who rendered unto Caesar what was Caesar's and rendered unto God what was God's. And I will see him in heaven one day.